So I don't think anyone actually knows the story of how I was first connected to Boys and Girls Club. One day, a very long time ago, I was 29 years old, January, I get a call. Is this Erin Jones? Like, yes, this is Erin Jones. Well, this is the Seattle Storm. We'd like to offer you a tryout. We're having an open tryout. And what I wanted to say was, you know, I'm 29 years old and I have 3 small children, right? But I didn't say that. I said, sure, when's the tryout? And I ended up trying out for the Portland Fire and the Seattle Storm in one weekend. So those of you who are athletes can appreciate this. I began my training at the YMCA, but I got seen by a manager one day at the Y, and I did all of my team training at the Al Davies Boys and Girls Club. That was almost 20 years ago. And that was my first introduction to Boys and Girls Club. I would become a teacher here in Tacoma, and actually a couple of my first students are here tonight, which is super exciting, who were very involved in the Boys and Girls Club. And so I got to watch my students on the east side of Tacoma benefit from the East Side Boys and Girls Club. But then even closer to home for me, we had to move away to Spokane. About 12 years ago, my sister-in-law overdosed. And she'd been part of the Hilltop Crips. And when she overdosed, the Hilltop Crips, we had some challenges with her daughter becoming connected. And so we knew we needed to get our daughter now away from those influences and moved away to Spokane. And when we moved back to Olympia, when I began working for OSPI, we needed a place for our kids to go, and somebody came to me one day and said, there's a Thurston County Boys and Girls Club, and we really think you should be involved. And our youngest son is Asperger's. He's on the spectrum. Our youngest son has had 2 birthdays where not one person has shown up. Not one person. And when he joined the Boys and Girls Club, it was the very first time he had friends. And so for my children, my boys especially, the Boys and Girls Club was their salvation. Israel, for the very first time, built his own computer there, and he is now a computer science and mathematics double major at Harvey Med College. He's a junior there. He now has birthday parties where lots of kids come at college. And, but I credit all of that to the Boys and Girls Club, to giving him a space where he could find himself and learn to give back. And so for me, there's a lot of personal investment in Boys and Girls Club. I watched it save my older son, who really struggled with dysgraphia in high school and just feeling like a part of his community. And the Boys and Girls Club allowed him to be the coach that he is. He loves coaching little kids. And at the Boys and Girls Club of Thurston County, he was able to coach little kids. And that's his greatest desire. His dream is to teach high school with his dad and coach. But that all started for him at the Boys and Girls Club. And as I was invited to judge this year, I know they expected to have to beg me, because I don't know if you watch me on Facebook, but I'm all over the place, and I'm really busy. But when they called and said, you know, we have this big ask, would you come and read and judge? And I said yes before they could even finish, because for me, I have watched what the Boys and Girls Club can do for young people, and the brilliance of the young people who are in that space. And so for me, saying yes was easy. And then they said, you know, we have this other ask, and it's really big, and could you do something else? Yes. And so for me, it's easy to be up in front of you tonight to ask you to do something really important. It's really easy to show up to a dinner. It's easy to celebrate young people. But this requires money. Doing this work, this great work that saves lives every day, we got to read all 7 applications. And you know, my husband could tell you there were a lot of tears as I read applications. These young people have walked through a ton to get here tonight. I want us to give them another hand, all 7 of them. I spent my teaching career in Title I schools with the poorest kids, and one of the things that I believe is every kid is gifted and talented, every single one of our young people, and our job is to be treasure hunters. Our job is to find the treasure in the young people and to help them see it and nurture it, and that's what Boys and Girls Clubs is about. It's about being those treasure hunters for the young people who are in our communities, who each one of them have gifts and talents. And once we find those gifts, to give them a safe space to develop and nurture those gifts so they can become the leaders that we already see and the young people that you've seen in front of you. But that doesn't happen without money. Every single dollar matters. There's some of y'all that $25 is you're gonna feel that. And I understand it. I got 21, 22, 23-year-old kids. I understand that. But I want you to give in a way that will push you. And I want you to give realizing that there are hundreds more kids like the 7 young people that we honored tonight who are waiting in the wings, desperate for this opportunity to become the best version of themselves. So I dare you to give big tonight. I dare you to create more opportunities. When I think about the East Side Boys and Girls Club and moving into this new facility, I lived right across the street from where that facility will go, and I lived right next to the Portland Nursery. I know that community very well, and I think about how many thousands of young people will be impacted. And so I want you to imagine the hundreds of other young people who need this opportunity. And I want you to think about your own children and what are they worth? And I want you to give big tonight. Educators and folks who work with kids absolutely are life changers. Absolutely are life changers. And I just want you to remember that every penny you spend, every dollar that you spend has the opportunity to change a life. Every dollar that you invest creates another opportunity for a leader to be raised up right here in this community. So I thank you for every dollar that you give. I also would ask you that for those of you that are not engaging in some way, that you offer to mentor a young person, offer to get involved as a volunteer at Boys and Girls Clubs as well. Today, I spoke at an elementary school in Tukwila, and when I was done speaking, a little black girl ran up and she wrapped her arms around my legs. This little black girl had shaved off all her hair last week because somebody told her her hair was ugly. And her principal called me yesterday and said, "Erin, I have a little girl whose hair was just like yours, but she and her older sister both shaved it off. Could you come talk to my kids today?" And that little girl, without being prompted, wrapped her arms around my legs this afternoon. And she looked up in my eyes and she said, "Miss Erin, your hair is so beautiful." And I said, "Are you the little girl who shaved your head?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Is my hair beautiful?" "Yes." "Can you grow yours back to be beautiful like mine?" "Yes." And here's why I share that story. I became a representation of what was possible for her. You can absolutely be a champion for a kid. And so I dare you, don't just give away money, give of yourself and invest, because every investment matters. Thank you.